Hi, well, Easter isn't far away, and this doesn't really have to be just for Easter. I just thought it would be a little bit of fun. Now, basically, I'd seen a lot of these little square, or as my daughter said, it looked like a tea bag, one of those pyramid tea bags we have over here. I don't know whether everybody has them. But little chicks that they were doing with granny squares and things like that. And I thought, well, they're quite cute. But then I thought, but if I'm stuffing something, I don't want the holes of a granny square, for example. So I thought I need to find a different way of doing it. And they're ever so funny. This is the little chick I came up with. Now I thought, okay, that's a little chick, lots of people are doing them, but I needed to think of something else to put with them. So if we have a chick, we must have a little egg. But if we have an egg and a chick, what are we going to do with them? They do work as I nearly said Christmas then, we're not near that yet. They can be Easter decorations, fair enough, but I wanted it a bit more fun, a bit more interactive. So, see if you can guess what this is. Yes, it is a square of granny squares, but you can see how it's gridded off. We'll have a proper look at it, obviously, when we go top down. So, if you can imagine, we have a little grid. We place a little chick. If we're playing a game, we might place a little egg. It is basically what we would call a noughts and crosses game here, but chicks and eggs. I know it's called tic-tac-toe as well. So it's just a fun little game. And it is so simple to make. So I'm going to be showing you the chick, the egg, and I will do a basic square because not everybody's happy with granny squares. I know it's one of those things that people are taught and it's passed down, but then people will still ask questions. I do have a tutorial for a granny square, but considering how long they take to do, I'm going to do one and just discuss how I actually crocheted it together so we get these lovely lines. So we're going to be making our chick and egg tic-tac-toe. I will see you in a second down below. I'm making a rhyme. See you in a second. So here are our little chicks and little eggs. So I thought we'll have a closer look at them first. They are so basic and so funny. My son thought they were amazing. You know, he's like 27 and he wants one because he just thought they were so funny to look at. And they are just literally a rectangle. And it's where you crochet it together that creates that funny little shape. So you see there is one slightly larger. He was my prototype, but I'll show you if you want to make it longer, you can do it that way. So we have our little chicks there. I need one more for the game though, because we've got an odd number at the moment. And then, oh no, chicks were okay, unless I give that one away. We'll have to see about that one. And then the little eggs are just basic little amigurumi eggs. Nothing sort of exciting. I've done them in a variegated yarn because I thought, well, we'll make it a little bit Eastery, you know, a little bit sort of livelier. I've used two different size hooks because for the chicks and the eggs, I actually used a 3mm crochet hook. I don't know whether you can see that very well or not, possibly not, but it's a 3mm hook. For the actual squares, I used a 3.5. It doesn't really matter. You could carry on using the 3. I just wanted the sort of squares to be sort of come out a little bit larger. I needed these tighter because I was stuffing them and I didn't want bits of stuffing come out. That's why I decided to do them like this instead of with the granny squares that everybody seems to be doing. Now, as far as the yarn's concerned, this is the variegated for the eggs. You can see it's got a little bit of a glitter in there. I have a basic double knit for my ground, so I just did it grassish colour. This one's got a slight marl sort of texture to it, which is nice. So I'll pop them over there. We don't need them yet. The brown was just to do the divide. Again, you could do it any colour. You could put little flowers on it, which I had contemplated. I was thinking of putting some little flowers in between, but I decided leave it simple, and then if you guys want to update it, you can from there. Double knit yarn. This is a Stylecraft yarn for my little chickies. I thought that was a nice colour. You could do, again, any colour you want. And then, of course, we need a little bit of red and a little bit of orange for the crest and the beak. One other thing we do need is some toy stuffing. Now, I've got some more at the side of me here because that's not going to be enough. So let's have a little look. I suppose we're looking about that sort of quantity. So I'll leave my stuffing on the side so it's not in my way. The other thing I've got is pen, paper, etc, etc. So as I can keep count, my scissors, my needle, and a little tiny cute bunny stitch marker there. So let's move all these out of the way. I'm trying to work out, it's gone really dark outside. It was fine and all of a sudden it went dark, and it is throwing it down with rain now. So the lighting in here has gone a little bit, but I think we'll be okay. So I think we'll keep one chick, one egg out. We'll remove all the others. I mean, it makes such a cute game because, you know, you can't hurt. You know, the kids can play with this. They can throw it around the room. Only one thing I will comment, though, is if you are making them for children under a certain age, or I must admit my cat has been eyeing them up, he decided to make a pet toy, be aware, I've used buttons. In fact, that's something I didn't say I got. I have added buttons here. Depending on the age range or the person or the animal or whoever is going to be receiving this to play with, you might want to think about sort of swallowing buttons and things like that. So I would recommend you do embroidery. So we'll move all these. They're very cute. Right, there we go. So this is our mat. Again, you can just see it's just granny squares that are actually crocheted together. By crocheting them together, you get this sort of nice raised effect. But we'll discuss that when we get to the granny squares. We're going to start with our funny little chickie here. We have our double knit yarn, and as I mentioned before, this time I'm using the 3mm hook, not the 3.5. I have a pattern here and I have some paper, so I'm going to get going with the chicken. Seriously, this could not be any easier. As long as you know your basic stitches. Oh, and don't forget, I didn't mention in my intro, I use UK terms. Might make a difference. You might require a sort of conversion chart or something like that. When you see the stitches, you'll know. You'll be able to go, oh yeah, that's a so-and-so if you're used to your crochet. But if you are new to it, it can sort of throw you a little bit. I'm just looking for those buttons actually. I mentioned I'd got buttons, but I didn't actually show you them. They're in one of my little tins. I have my little tin here. So I'd put them to one side ready. Now, if I remember rightly, these are just 4mm black buttons. You can get them all over the place. Quite often they're for like doll's clothing, should I say, and a little bit of sewing cotton and needle. So we'll keep that out because that is required for this particular project. So I'll move them over to one side. Oh, the sun's coming out now. The rain stopped and the sun's coming out. So I don't know what's going to happen to this lighting. So here we have our yarn. I am going to start with my slip knot onto my hook. Not too tight. I'm trying to decide which side the yarn will go because I don't want it to look. If I put it that side, look, you can see shadow. If I put it that side, you can't, but that's not a usual side. But I'll keep it over there because it just stops the shadow. Right, we're going to start with just 9 chain. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep it loose. 6, 7, 8, 9. Now I say keep it loose. It needs to be loose enough for you to easily get your hook in after the fact. If you do it too tight, you can't do it, and if it's too loose, obviously the work is going to sort of look a little bit messy. So we've got 9 chain there, but then I'm going to do 2 more. Now these are my turning chain and also counts as my first stitch. Now the stitch we're going to be doing are half trebles. Again, double check if you're not sure. That is a UK half treble. I think I know what the US one is, but I'm not going to say it in case I get it wrong, and then obviously your stitch will be wrong. No, I'm not going to say it. Right, so from here, those 2 count as a first stitch. So that means into the third one from the hook, which is here where my thumb is, that's why I kept my thumbnail there, I'm going to do a half treble. Now that is yarn round into the stitch, pull it through. We now should have 3 stitches on that hook. We're going to grab the yarn and pull it through all 3. So that actually counts as 2 stitches because that turning 2 chain is a stitch and that one we've just done. We are now going to continue with 8 more half trebles. So yarn round into the chain, pull it through all 3. Yarn round into the chain, pull it through all 3. If you're not used to a half treble, have a little practice before you start the project. You know, just sort of go, oh yeah, it's that one. And sometimes that's all it needs, a little reminder, or maybe watch through the video to get an idea of what I'm doing and then perhaps move on to the stitch. Now, I know sometimes it's hard to see the work. I mean, if I get too close, it starts to get blurry, so it's a little bit hard to do that. And I know some of you are watching on phones and things, which can also cause a problem. You see, I'm so used to looking at the computer, I sort of think, oh, size is okay, but I am aware of it. Let me see if I can get a little bit closer without it getting blurry. So we need a couple more stitches there. And there we go. So I've just pulled that tight because that's where my first stitch was. So that is our little row. That is our row 1. Okay, now we need more. I mean, that gives us a total. I know we did 9 chain, but don't forget that one. So we have actually got 10 stitches. So when you do your next row, you need 10 stitches, but your first one is going to be 2 chains. So if that makes sense. Now that's row 1. We need 15 in total, so we've got 14 more. So I'm going to grab my paper and pen, which I always have wherever I go. So I now need 14 more rounds. So I'll just rounds. That's because I'm so used to doing rounds. I can do that when I get to the egg, but not on the chick. So I can just mark down now. So my paper and pen are there ready. So to start the row, I must say row, not round, we're going to do 2 chain. Counts as our first stitch. Okay, turn your work and we should be left with 9 more. If you're not sure, count from the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So in we go. Remember, it's the same stitch, just a half treble. So a half treble into each of these stitches. Make sure when you're picking it up as well, you are picking up both sides, because it is easy just to go in one, but we need to pull both through. It does, if you're used to doing a lot of amigurumi and it's all in the rounds, it can feel a little bit weird. I mean, I obviously do a lot more in the rounds, so when I come to doing rows, it does feel strange, but it's easy enough to do. Now the very last stitch isn't always obvious, because some people will stop there and think, oh, there isn't another one. Because it was a chain, it's not obvious, so we need to get into it because it is a stitch. Okay, you will suddenly notice if you're missing stitches, your work will suddenly go triangular. We don't want it triangular, we want a straight rectangle. So I'm going to mark down that one. So again, 2 chain. I like to do my chain before I turn. Some patterns will say turn work and then do their chain, but I like to do it before because I just find it's easier to actually turn the work. So now we need 9 half trebles, but the chain is still counted as our number 10, remember. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. It does feel odd, I get it. It's not like a normal stitch at the end, but don't forget it, otherwise it will mess up the actual work you're doing. So that's 2. So I'm going to speed up very slightly now. Remember, we need 15 in total. So that's my 2 chain and I'm going to turn. So I know some of you now will go ahead of me because you'll know what you're doing. If you are a beginner and you think, oh, I haven't got a clue what she's doing, she's going too fast and things like that, don't forget you can slow me down in the settings. And to be honest, I would recommend you watch the video, see what I'm saying, like now we know it's 15 rows, for example, and then just stop the video, I don't know, pop some music on or something, do your 15 rows and then come back to me. I think that's another way that it can be done. So I'll mark that one down. Oh, just hit the tin then. So we have 2 chain to turn, and then we need 9 more half trebles. A half treble is a nice stitch because it's, well, a double crochet can take a long time. I do like to work in double crochet, which I will do for the egg, but obviously it would take longer to do. But a treble would be too long and it would give us holes. It would give us sort of big gaps between each stitch. So then if you're stuffing it, that's not very good either. So it's just that somewhere. Oh, look at that. Can you see what happened there? I do like to show my mistakes. I've clearly split the yarn, so it made it really thin, and if I'd have left that, my next round it would have made it a little bit vulnerable. So make sure we're getting both bits. There we go. Again, it's splitting for me then. Some yarns do and some yarns don't. There's not really any, well, there is. Some are a looser sort of twist. That's why they do it more, but this is usually okay. I think that was just my fault. So off we go again. Now this is my row number 5. I know some of you do actually crochet at the same time as me, so that is why I do chatter along. Again, if you sort of don't want the chatter, just turn the volume down, pop some music on, or just do it nice and quietly. I do sometimes like to, I have music on a lot, but I do like to sit quietly as well when I'm working. So that's 5. So you can see how we're growing now. 2 chain, turn, row number 6. So we're almost halfway. But you can see my sides haven't altered. They are straight, and that is really important. So even if you don't count a lot, if you sort of rely on just going up and down the rows, every now and again count your stitches just in case. It's so easy to lose a stitch and you will lose the shape then, and we don't want to be doing that. So that's 6. Let me pull a little bit more of this yarn out as it's on that side. 2 chain and turn. And we have our 9. Remember, 10 in total. You can hear the hook clicking. Right, we're almost at the end, so that's that one. So that was number 7. So we are literally halfway now. So you can see, first of all, when I was playing with it, this is why the first chick was a little bit long in the body. I'd got it in my head, so I'm just pushing my sleeves up, that it would have been like a square, and it's not. I thought it would be equal numbers one way or the other, but it wasn't. So there was a little bit of playing about to start with. So 2 and turn. We're on number 8 now. If you do actually make this, or whether you just make individual chicks or individual eggs or whatever, if you do a photo on Instagram or anything like that, tag me in. I do love to see what people have done. And I love to see if we can have lots of different coloured chickens as well, because I think that would be quite cool. I'd considered doing them in a white. I got a glittery white, but I thought, well, I'll give it a little bit more traditional sort of Easter, so that's why I've gone for this one. Right, so row, I'm trying to say round and row, aren't I? Number 9. There's hardly any sewing up as well in these. All you're actually doing is sewing in the ends, which is always good, because we're going to crochet it together. That one didn't want to go through. So that's number 9 done. 2 chain and turn, row number 10. One more. So that's number 10 out the way. We only have 4 more, so you can sort of see the sides are staying straight and it's sort of a nice rectangle there coming. So we have 4 more rows. 1, 2 and turn. Let's do a quick check on that count. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, oh, nearly 7, 8, and that funny one right at the end, number 9. And remember, obviously our 2 chain was counted, so that wasn't that I've lost a stitch, it's just that I didn't count the 2 chain. So count the 2 chain this time, so that's counted as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the awkward one, and 10. So that is 12. We've only got 2 more rows to go. Again, if you wanted to make, where's my long chicken? So you can see he ended up a little bit longer than the others, but I wanted it to sort of look very sort of triangular. So, but I do actually quite like his shape. It was because I actually started off with more than the rows there. Now this one starts with 10. I think I started with 15 chain on this one, so his body ended up longer. So if you want to increase the length, you increase the amount of chain you start with. So a bit more yarn out. We've got 2 more rows. So I've got 1, 2 and turn. And then our half treble row. But they are quite quick to make, I must admit, which was quite nice. And I mean, Easter's, I think, what we got, is it about a month-ish for Easter? But you'd have loads of time to do this. I'm sure some of you could probably put it together in one evening. Right, 2 chain and our last row. 1. Didn't want to go in that one. Last 2 stitches. 1 and 2. Right, I'm not fastening off. I just want to show you first we've got our little shape and it's going to be folded. But what I don't want is to obviously fill in all sides because it's a little bit weird, the fold. I know some people, I'd seen a few on Instagram and they were showing them making them. And then a few people were going, but how do we finish them? All they were showing was what they got and part of it. And I must admit, first of all, I'm like, how is it folded? So that is a bit of a weird one. So basically, I need to go down 2 sides, which is a bit of a funny positioning on this. So if I fold it, I want to leave that one open, yeah? Because that's going to be my final one, which means up to you. If you want to fasten your yarn off, I'm going to have to move it to the other side. If you want to fasten your yarn off, do so. But I didn't want to. I wanted to make it as no-sew as possible. So I did 1 chain. Yeah, folded my work and turn it. So can you see where it is now? So you'll see that's where I started and that's where I am now. And I want to go, oh, stuck on my fingers. I want to go along there and down there, crocheted together, leaving this bit open. I hope that makes sense. I did the 1 chain because it just makes it a little bit easier, because it's going to feel weird because you're like on that side and you're normally on that side when you're going to crochet, but that 1 chain will allow us to jump over and into the stitch. There you go. So we are lining up the 2 sides and making sure we get a decent bit in there. Try again, don't get a thin bit like my thin bit went earlier. You need to get the whole stitch. Let's move that out of the way. Oh, it doesn't want to move out of the way. Go over there. So we just double crochet now. I should have said that. Apologies for that. It is a double crochet stitch, bringing the piece together. So you just go both sides, grab the yarn, pull it through and pull it through. I do know that is a single crochet in the US, so if you're a bit confused. Now the corner, I need to do a couple of stitches just to get round it more than anything else. So I'm just going to do 2. And then going up this side, we're going in the side of the half treble, so it feels a little bit weird. But again, just line it up. Make sure you're not putting too many stitches into each space because they're more like little spaces now. If in doubt, stop about halfway. Double check that it's not going sort of crinkly or it's too tight or anything like that, because you could either be missing stitches or doing too many. That's one to watch for. So it's just a case of keeping it nice and flat and making sure we properly pick up. See, look there. Can you see I've only picked up a thin bit there? You see how that's a thin bit and that's not very, very good. So I need to go in a bit deeper with it. There we go. Because otherwise, again, it leaves gaps and we don't want gaps, because if we're getting it stuck there, if we're stuffing them, we don't want any gaps at all. You don't want your stuffing dropping out. Right, we're almost at the bottom and look at that, we have it. So it looks like a little hat at the moment. Now we are going to fasten off because there's no way I can get well, I could slide the yarn down to the other end, but it would make it difficult. So I am going to fasten that off. And this is where the confusion came, because people were making them like this and then they're going, well, if I sew that up, it's not going to work. I'm going to check back over, like, which direction does it go? Basically, hope I'm going to describe this properly. Open it up a little bit. I'm going to shove that in there because it's, again, getting in my way and I don't need it. That'll just be in the sewing up bit. So you can see line, line, and I'm folding it that way. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So if you take your work, these are your two sides you've crocheted up, make it face you like that, pull it out, and then make sure that bit, which is this line here, is central, and then we would crochet along here. Now we have to remember when we're stuffing it as well, so don't get giddy and just crochet it up, but I am going to crochet part way and then I will pop the stuffing in. So I'm going to go in there. Again, it's making sure you get the right bits, because it is easy just to get a partial stitch, and it makes it very weak if you do that. So I've got my yarn, I'm pulling it through, I'm going to do a chain, but then I'm going to go back in and do a double crochet. Yeah, that anchors my yarn nice and tight by doing that. So I think I'm going to go to about halfway and then we'll grab that stuff in. So it is a bit weird picking it up because we're picking up half treble sections. We're not picking up an actual stitch. Just make sure it's nice and neat. That's all you need to worry about there, and even. Right, I'm going to stop there because we need to pop that stuffing in. You can make them as chunky as you would like. It's just try and get them even. Well, they don't even have to be even. I suppose they could all be different size chicks if you wanted. But yeah, make sure. Oh, I think that's probably already going to be about okay. Needs to be firm, but it doesn't want to sort of make it stretch your yarn. So I'm going to pull that back together. Yeah, I think that will actually do. And I'm going to continue to crochet together. Keep it nice and tight. That bit is where the actual start is, so it's always tricky as it fell out there, and as you saw, in you go. That's it. It's where your starting point was on the other side, so it sort of makes it tough to get through. Nope, that one doesn't want to go either. If it doesn't go, don't worry. It's only one stitch. Just take it out and just do it again, because it's not like you're dropping stitches with crochet, so it doesn't really matter. There we go. So yeah, it is a bit fiddly, this one. You just need to sort of double check where you're crocheting into and make sure it's nice and firm for our little chicken to stay together. Right, and we're at the end. So I can now cut it off and then find out whether I've put enough stuffing in. I think I have. So we've basically got 3 ends that we don't really got to sew in. All we've got to do is get our darning needle or our wool needle and push them through the body. So give it a little stretch, like that. And then we have our little teabag chicken, as my daughter called it. Yep, I'm happy with that. I'm not going to bother getting rid of the ends. Obviously, for you, I'd recommend just sew your ends in. Be neat and tidy. Don't be like me. Sew your ends in before you do the next bit. So this flat bit here is his bottom. Oh, you can see that. So that means we come up the back and this is his front, because we need these two so we can crochet onto them. So for his actual crest, I want it to sort of finish about there, but again, you can manipulate that. So if I go back 1, 2, and 3 stitches, I might actually go back another one. You can play with that. You don't have to do it as 3. You could do it as 4. You can do loads if you want. You can do all sorts with it. I know as I was doing it, I was imagining other things that I could make with that design. I'm all right with this because I can't find the ends, so I'm just going to be really naughty and cut a piece off. I will sort that out after the fact, but you don't need much wool for this. So yarn in hand, we've gone through one of the areas, both sides, you see both sides there, where we have crocheted together. We're going to pull the yarn through, we're going to do a chain, and you know, like I did before, I'm going to go back in and do a double crochet just to anchor it. It helps it stay there. So we're going to do 3 chain, of course we're doing a treble. Then we go back into the same stitch and we do a treble. We go back into the same stitch and do a treble. So it's through 3 and then 1, 2. We are now going to jump into the next chain area, and it's a slip stitch. Slip stitch, keep it nice and tight. Slip stitch, yeah. Then we're going to do 3 chain, and you know what's coming next, and 2 treble into the same space. 1 and 2. We're going to do a slip stitch into our next stitch. 3 chain, 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to do 2 treble. So it's the equivalent to 3 trebles in each one, but your 3 chain counts as a treble, and then we've got 2 trebles from there. And that last one in there. And then we're going to just slip stitch into the next stitch. And that's it. Fast enough time again. Now, because this is red, when I did my sewing in, let me get it the right bit, and I want to put the wrong bit in, I did actually just do some sewing in within the crest, because if you're not careful, if you sew in a red when you've got a very pale colour, if you've not got right into the stuffing, there's a chance you're going to see it showing through. So I would recommend when we sew this in, you just sort of run it along inside these, maybe backwards and forwards a couple of times, and leave it at that. So now we have the crest, so we now need the beak. So again, it can be wherever you want it. I just sort of went down a couple. I thought maybe there, that looked about okay. Bringing in my little orange yarn here, just the same as we did with this. Pull it through, do a chain, do a double crochet. Yep, we can see where that is. We're going to do 3 chain, keep them nice and tight, 1, 2 and 3, and then we're just going to go back into the same stitch with a slip stitch. That's it. That is his beak. So can you see what I did there? Hopefully. Double check it, sort of rewind it, perhaps I'll watch that bit again if you're not too sure with it. But basically, I pulled the yarn through, I did a double crochet, did 1 chain and a double crochet. I then did 3 chain and slip stitch back into the same stitch. So you can see when we've got all our ends in, you'll see you've got your little chickie there. And then for the eyes, I stitched on the eyes. Again though, think about what you sort of who you're giving it to, and you may want to just embroider a little eye. You could use beads if you know it's not something that's going to get chewed or anything like that, but it's up to you for that, for the embellishments. But I think that works out quite simple. Now that, according to my camera, took us 30 minutes, and most of that was me talking rather than actually doing, so it shows it doesn't take long. When you've done your first one, they will go quicker and quicker and quicker. So we're going to do the egg next. So this is my very pretty variegated yarn that I can't find the end of. There we go. There we go. I thought it was nice because each egg came out a slightly different colour, so it worked out well. So I'm going to start the same with a slip knot. We're still using a 3mm hook. Onto our hook. Now this one is all amigurumi. I'm going to turn my paper over to make sure I get my sort of numbers the same, because I want all my eggs the same size. And from there we're going to do 2 chain, 1 and 2, and into that first chain I'm going to do 6 double crochets or single crochets if you're US. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Now don't panic if it does that, because all you've got to do is pull it up like that. It was just the slip knot that has sort of slipped out a little bit, but you can soon straighten that up. We are now going to do 2 double crochets into each of these stitches. So that'll be our increase, so it'll give us 12 stitches then. So that's 2 in our first one, 2 in the second, 2 in number 3, 2 in number 4, in number 5, and our last one, 2 in number 6. again, just tighten up that slip knot because it come a little bit loose there. So we have 12 stitches there. We're now going to do just a double crochet round. We don't need the stitch marker in for that. We're literally just going to count 12 stitches. So off we go. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, nearly there, 11 and 12. You can see it's already starting to curl up. That's okay, just push it out a little bit. Definitely going to have to tighten up that slip knot at the end, but you can do that just by sort of like darning it, so don't worry if it keeps coming undone, but you do need to watch it. You don't want it completely coming undone. Right, we're now going to do an increase. We're going to do 2 double crochets in the first stitch, yeah, and then you're going to do a 1 and a 1, yeah, so 2 in first one and then a single one. Whereas not say single because it makes it sound like a single crochet, doesn't it? Individual one. So we have 2 stitches in this one, 1 stitch, 1 stitch. Yep, and you're going to do that combination 4 times to give us 16 stitches. So here we go. So we've got 2 in the first one, and then we do a 1 and a 1, which is combination 1. We do a 2, we do a 2, oh, a 1 and a 1, should I say? Oh dear, because that was the second combination. I got 2 in my head then. Right, third combination. We have 2 stitches in one, and then a 1 and a 1. Last combo, we have a 2, we have a 1, and we have a 1. So push it out so you can see we're getting a little bit of a shape there. We're now going to have 3 rounds of just 1 double crochet in each stitch. So I am going to pop in a stitch marker because especially when I'm talking, I do lose track of where I am. So it is important to use that little stitch marker. So 3 rounds, so pen and paper ready as well. And off we go. It should be 16 stitches. So should we count the stitches first? I think we will to make sure we've done it right. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, looking good, 13, 14, 15 and 16. Yay, we didn't add a stitch or drop a stitch or anything like that. So that's number 1. We need 2 more rounds like that. I'm not going to count on the next 2. I'm literally just going to go round on them. So it's a nice simple egg shape. I mean, it's a great one if you wanted to just do them, maybe if you've got an Easter tree or you just want to decorate around the house. You can add little ribbons on the top, or you can add little flowers or detailing, or even sort of do stripes if you change your yarn rather than using a variegated yarn. So it's just a basic egg pattern really that you can use for so many different things. There we go, that's round number 2. So we can definitely see we've got like the pointy bit of the egg, and then we're working down to its bottom. So 1 more round in just 1 double crochet in each one. We do have 1 more increase, which is going to be the next round, but there's not really many stitches, is there? I mean, this is 16 and we're going to go up to a maximum of 20, which is going to be for our next round. Almost to our little bunny. And 1 more, and we're round to our bunny there. So we're just sort of above our stitch marker. Now this is, as I say, another increase round. So it's going to be very similar to what we did last time. It's going to be 2 in the first one, and then 1, 2 and 3 this time. So here we go. So we're going to do a 2, and you're going to do that 4 times. We have a 1, a 1 and a 1. Yeah, so that was combo 1. We've got 3 more times like that. So we have a 2, then we have a 1, a 1 and a 1. That was our second set. Our third set, we have a 2, we have a 1, 1 and 1, and our very last set we have a 2 in this one, and then we got a 1, a 1 and a 1. So we've now increased by 4, so the shape is coming out again. I'm going to remove my stitch marker and move it up because it's an amigurumi style, and it doesn't literally change its position, but because it's spiral, the position slightly moves. So in we go. We now have, like we did before, just 3 rounds of 1 double crochet into each stitch. So we have 20 stitches now, so we'll count the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just checking I was on camera then. I was actually going a bit high. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. We should have 2 more before we get to the stitch marker, and 20. Perfect. So you can see we've got a bit of a colour change there, which is quite nice now. So that is the first round of the 3 rounds. So just move in a needle there before it falls off of the table, and we're going to need 2 more rounds, so off we go. So again, I'm not going to count this time, so just go stitch marker to stitch marker. And they said this is going to be the biggest or the widest it's going to actually get. After this, we're going to be decreasing. That's why I say they are quite quick to do. I mean, this up to now, again, I know I'm talking as well, maybe stopping and starting, but it's only actually took 9 minutes to get halfway. So I rang probably half an hour for a chick, half an hour for an egg. Should work out okay. Right, here's nearly round for round 2. Last round. Again, this is a no-sew. It's just a case of popping your stuffing in, fastening off and threading your yarns through the egg. So again, it's great. Not everybody likes sewing up, I know they don't. I can't say as I do. I've got lots and lots of ends, I've had lots of colour changes. It does drive me mad. I do find it quite satisfying to do. And when it's done, it's like, oh, wow, you know, I'm really pleased I did that. But it's like, oh, you just look at all them ends and you're like, oh, no, got to sew so many ends in, or you've got to sew something together, or, I don't know, add an arm or whatever you've got to do. So, yeah, no sew is always good if you can get away with it. So when we get round to the bunny, we are on finished our 3rd one. And now we need to start thinking about decreasing. So I'm going to take bunny out altogether because otherwise it's going to confuse us without actually decreasing. The first decrease, we do 2 double crochets together. So we do this one and this one together. And then we're going to do 3 individual stitches, 1, 2 and 3. Yep, and we're going to do that 4 times. So it's almost a reverse of what we did as we were building it up here. So here we go, 2 together, which means pull through. So you will have 3 on that hook, and then pull it through all 3. Well, the sun's really coming through now, so it's going to change the colours on here again. Then we have individual 1, individual 2, and individual 3. Okay, so now 2 together. So in, pull it through. We don't finish the stitch. Into the next one, pull it through. 3 on the hook, pull it through all 3. And then we need 3 individual stitches. 1, 2, and 3. Now 2 together. So yeah, so it's like you don't finish the stitch. You end up with 3, pull them through all 3. Then we need 3 individual. 1, 2 and 3. And our very last one for this round, we go 2 together and then 3 individual. 1, 2, let's pull a bit more of that yarn out, and 3. So you'll already feel that it's starting to curve back round now. So we need another decrease because obviously it needs to sort of come all the way around its bottom. So we're going to do again very, very similar. 2 together, 2 individual, times 4. So 2 together first. Yeah, and then just 2 stitches, 2 individual stitches, 1 and 2. So that's combo 1, combo 2, 2 together, then 1 and 2. Our third set, 2 together, a 1 and a 1. Our last set, 2 together, drop that one, then time to start again, 2 together, and then 2 individual. Now I think we need to pop some stuffing in there because the hole is getting smaller and smaller, and the smaller it is, the harder it is to actually get our stuffing in. We are now down to 12 stitches because we decreased by another 4. So we're going to push that end in, and we're going to grab our stuffing. Where is it? There we go. So I've got some stuffing here. And push it right in, even if you feel like you're pushing it too tight there, because otherwise the stuffing gets in the way when you're trying to do the rest of the stitching. So push it right in. You can always shuffle it about when you've finished your work. Now this one sort of needs to be sort of quite tight, because otherwise you won't get your round shape or your curved shape. It's not round, is it, an egg? It's egg shaped. Right, that's a bit too much there, so I'll take that bit off. And I'm going to push that bit in, but I'm going to push it in as far as possible because I don't want it catching in my stitches as I do that bit, because it will bounce back, but we can sort that out afterwards. So back on we go. We need to decrease again. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to do 2 together, then 1 stitch times 4. Okay, so 2 together. Now keep it really tight now, otherwise you will get holes. 2 together, pull it tight, 1 stitch. Yeah, 2 together, pull it tight, 1 stitch. That's our second one. 2 together, pull it tight, and 1. Another set of those, so 2 together, just pull it tight so we don't want it loose, and then 2, and then 1. Should I say? Done 2. I'm doing loads of 2 togethers because I was thinking about the next stage. Now you can see we have quite a small hole now. Now we're going to do 2 together. So I know some people like to miss the stitch rather than the 2 together, so whichever works for you, but we only need a couple. So I'm going to do a 2 together there. Just pull it tight, and then another 2 together. Basically on a pattern it'll say 2 together till closed, so you can go as far as you can. Sometimes it's very hard to get that close when the hole gets so small, but do your best on that. So into that one, I think that's going to be my last one, and pull it tight. Now if there's a tiny little hole, there's not really one there, but if there was, you can always sort of darn that area, which I will do with this. I'm going to sew the end in with this one. I know I didn't. Right, in fact what I'm going to do is I like to do a slip stitch as my final stitch, don't I, because that keeps it nice and flat. There you go. So I'm going to find a nice chunky needle. I usually use quite a fine one to sew in, but for this particular situation we're not sewing up, we're only just getting rid of the tail of the yarn, so we can get away with just sewing it in. Don't pull it too tight, make sure you've got your bottom of your egg there, and I go through a couple of times to make sure it's nice and firm, because it goes through the stuffing then, so it actually holds it a little bit in place. So there we go, that is our egg. Now to move this stuffing around, I just give it a little roll, a little push, until you've got the shape that you want. You could actually put a little face on it, which again I'd really consider doing because I thought that might be quite cute, but then I just decided to leave it as a plain egg, and again it's up to you guys if you want to play about with the designs. But that is our egg. So we have our sort of chicken done. He needs his ends sewing in and his eyes on, and we have our egg. So basically I think you need 5 of each to play the game. So we now need our granny square. So let's get some of this yarn out of the way. I've got yarn all over the place because there's so many different bits and bobs I've got here. Now again, I moved up a hook size, so we're going to pop our 3 out the way, and we're going to pull in our 3.5. Again, we need 1, 2, 3, we need 9 squares. We're just going to do one, don't worry, you're not doing all 9, then I'll explain what I've done. Now, you may have your own way of doing a granny square. If you do, that's great, you do that, because there are so many different systems of it. It doesn't really matter, you can make it a pattern square, you can do anything. I just thought a granny square was a nice simple one to do. So onto the hook, I'm going to do 5 chain. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Yeah, I'm going to go into that first chain, pulling that down. I'm going to do a slip stitch and join. So that gives us our little circle in the middle. So we're going to do 3 chain, which counts as our treble. Yarn round into that hole and make a treble. Yarn round into that hole, make a treble. 2 chain. I only did 2 chain. I know sometimes they are 3 for a granny square, but I wanted it relatively tight. That's why I did that. And then 3 trebles. 1, 2 and 3. 2 chain. And back into that hole again. Oh, yarn stuck around my finger. And 3 trebles. Basically, you want 4 sets of 3 trebles. And that gives you your square shape. Yep, so I've got, at the minute, I've got 1 set, 2 set, 3 sets. So I need another set. So 2 chain. And into that hole again. 1, 2, and 3. Now the next bit I'm going to do is a little controversial, fair enough. Most people will do 2 chain, join that, then they'll sort of potter along till they get to this. They'll do slip stitches till they get to this. I like to actually work straight from here. So what I'm actually going to do from here, I'm going to go yarn round into that first chain, pull it through, and I'm going to do a half treble. Well, I will if it doesn't split. Well, I've got to do it again anyway. At least you get to see it twice, don't you? Yarn round into there, pull it through, all 3. Now it seems a bit weird doing that. You're thinking, why don't you just slip stitch? Because if I slip stitch, I'll get stuck over here. If I do the half treble, I'm bang in the middle of that space. So then I can do 3 chain and just work in that space directly below. Again, optional. However it works for you, do it. It's just a square. It doesn't really matter. So I've got the equivalent now to 3 trebles again. 2 chain and 3 trebles back in that same one, because this is a corner. And if it's a corner, you need 2 sets of your trebles with your various amounts of chain in between. So you can see that's a corner. So we're going to jump now just to the next space. No chain or anything, just jump to the next space and do 3 trebles. 1, 2 and 3. 2 chain, back into the space, 3 trebles. 1, 2 and 3. So we can see how we get our corners coming. Just jump to the next space. Again, same combo. 3 trebles, 2 chain, 3 trebles. So that's our second treble. That's our third treble. 2 chain and 3 trebles. Or not, I need to try doing a double treble then, which means you go round the yarn twice, the hook twice with the yarn. That's the only reason it's a double. Ta-da! We have 3 corners. We're going to jump into the next one. And we do 3 trebles. 1, 2, 3, 2 chain, 3 trebles. 1, 2 and 3. Now what I'm going to do again is I'm not going to do a slip stitch. I'm going to do this time a double crochet. I know you're thinking, well, why did you do a double crochet last time? Because if you remember, we had to sort of do the equivalent to chain. That's why I did a half treble. But this time we're not doing the equivalent to any chain, so I'm just going to grab that, I'm going to pull it through and do a double crochet because I want that close. So double crochet brings it closer, basically the longer the stitch for the area. So we're going to do 2 chain, 3 chain even because it's a treble, and 2 more trebles below. Now the rule here for your squares is if it's a corner, you would do 3 trebles, 2 chain, 3 trebles. But if it's a side like this one, you're only going to do a set of 3 trebles. Okay, so we're going to a couple more, and the little orange yarns coming in as well. They're all jumping all over the place here. And we're going to go corner. Now remember what the corner is: 3 trebles, 2 chain, 3 trebles, 1, 2 and 3. You can see we have the 3 there, but our next one is a side, so we're just going in with 3 trebles. And that's basically the combination you will follow. If we grab one of these, the easiest way to count how many rounds, if you're not sure, is to go from the center point. You can see how these splay out. So you can see there's 2 there, 2 there, 2 there, and 2 there. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that means I got 4 rounds. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 rounds. So that is what you want to do. You can make this as big or as small as you want. I just thought that sort of, well, let me get one of the chicks again. It sort of sat about okay-ish. That's why I decided to go for that. I mean, you could make it bigger and more elaborate and fancy bits and pieces on it, but I think that the 4 rounds is adequate. At the moment on here I have 1, 2 and 3, so we will carry on a little bit. I was going to sort of pause there, but I think I will do a little bit more. So we need 1, 2 and 3, and then 2 chain, and then 3 trebles again, because it is our corner. So corners, I think that's the basic rule when you're doing a treble. Remember corners and sides, because they do make a difference. If you suddenly put a corner here, for example, you're going to get a funny shape. Okay, so this one is a side. So if it's a side, it's just going to be 3 trebles. 1, 2, and 3. We have a corner, so we need 3 trebles. 1, 2, and 3, 2 chain, and 3 trebles. 1, 2, and 3. The next one is a side, so if it's a side, it's just 3 trebles. 1, 2, and 3. We have our very last corner here, so we need 3 trebles. 1, 2, 3, 2 chain, and 3 trebles. 1, 2, and 3, and double crochet join, because remember I did a double crochet last time. So there we go. So that is 3 rounds. We need 1 more round, so you go round again in this exact same style, but I will point out now, for those that aren't used to a granny square, your corners will still be the same, a 3, a 2, a 3, but now if you look, we have 2 sides. Yeah, so when there's 2 sides, it would just be 3 trebles, 3 trebles, no chain in between. In fact, should I do those sides? I think I should, just to show you. I keep saying, no, I'll stop there, and then I do an extra bit. So we've got 1, 2 and 3. This one's a side directly below, so we need 2 more trebles. 1, because that chain counts as a treble. So I'm not going to do a chain or anything. I'm just going to jump into the next one and do 3 trebles. 1, 2, and 3. And then jumping into the corner with our corner. Yep, so that is what you would do all the way around. I do have a tutorial for a granny square. There are hundreds of tutorials on YouTube, so if you didn't like the way I did it, always check out somebody else's. There might be sort of a way that suits you better. Everybody's different, so there is something to watch for. Now, as far as I'm concerned for making it up then, I did 9 of these, okay? And then, you know, like we crocheted these together, it's the same sort of concept, but basically, let me think which way I went first. I went this way first. So if you fold it, you can see it. So I would put 2 squares together and I would crochet along, another 2 together, crochet along, yeah. And then I'd add another square and then it'd be crochet along and crochet along. So you'd do 2 separate sections. So that means you'd have that line and that line only. I would then turn my work and then I would crochet those sides together, sort of crocheting over these little joins here. So you get a really neat ridge. Again, it might be better off doing a sort of a separate tutorial for that. If it's something somebody's interested in, sort of give me a shout, or again, check out YouTube. There might be somebody else that's done it, but it makes it quite solid and firm. And then to completely finish it off, after I've done these, I just went round, all the way round, with 1 double crochet in each stitch. And then I did add the little frill, which is optional. Now the frill combination, all it is I have 3 trebles there, I miss a stitch, I do a double crochet, I miss a stitch, I do 3 trebles in one, miss a stitch, double crochet. So basically, if I get my pen and paper, I might be able to explain that a little bit better. If you have your stitches, yep, so I miss one, so this one's miss, and then in this one I'm going to do 3 trebles. Then I will, in fact, I'll write the miss here, then I'll miss this one, and then this one will be a double crochet, then I'd miss, and then I'd do 3 trebles, and you would continue that all the way around, and it will actually create a nice little arch for you. So I hope I made that sense. This is sort of how some crochet patterns are written in graph form rather than actual sort of words. So that is another way of doing patterns. Or obviously a lot of people don't follow patterns and they just follow their tutorials. So I hope that all makes sense. Give me a shout if there's any problems. But perhaps you could play with your little chickens. Let me get them all out. Let's see. Can't exactly play against myself, can I? So let's have a pretend, shall we? Right, chicken down. Egg down. Chicken. Ah, then down to block the chicken. An egg. But now we need to block the egg. If you've never played, I'm sure you have played this. But so it's a bit hard to play against yourself because obviously you know where everything's going. Ta-da! Oh, it's too late. I've put it down. I've played against myself and I've actually lost. I've put that there. I actually thought, oh, there you go. So 3 in a row, we have our chicken. So you could play about with this as much as you want. You could make a bigger board. You could do all sorts. So it's just a bit of fun, and I hoped people would enjoy doing it. I need to take some photos of it. I'm gonna have I'm gonna get my son to sort of have a game with me, and we'll video the game. But the thing is, we always know it's weird. I play against anyone else, and it's always stalemate. Play against myself, and I lose. And that wasn't even intentional. What am I like? So that's our little chickens. Hope you enjoyed it. Long video, I know. Break it up into bits as you go. If you enjoy my videos, don't forget to please like, subscribe and share. And I will see you all very soon with another video, whether it be doll or crochet. There's a combination coming up. In fact, there's even one about little doll's house things. So I'll see you all very soon. Bye-bye for now.